Amos in the Tanya is finished. That's it. No more. Now goes Simcha. So the Rebbe begins, V'achakach yovel de Simcha Amitis. And immediately after the depression, you come to true joy. Now, there are 2 points that need to be made here. The first point is the link to the past, and the second point is the continuation. When we learned Perek Chof Tes, the last piece of Perek Chof Tes, which is page 74, now the Rebbe says over there that when a person gives himself mussar, he beats up on himself. Now the Rebbe promises you that afterwards you'll come to what's called the Riyas Alakus B'Muchash. You'll have clarity, mamish, like as if you could see the Eibishter. And the Alter Rebbe says, how can I be so sure that when a person beats up on himself, he'll have a clarity like as if he see the Eibishter? And the basic answer that he gives is because Klippa is not a Metzias, it's darkness. And when you bring light into darkness, the darkness automatically vanishes. In other words, Alter Rebbe is so sure that the depression of Avodas Hashem will break the Timtum and give you freedom because you're fighting with a non-enemy. You're fighting with a built-in Metzias, with something that's Magbiya Atzma Keneshet. It suggests itself. When you believe it, you make it real. When you crush it and you break it, Kedusha emerges. So the way I always learn this Tanya is as follows. The Alter Rebbe is talking about the Nefesh Elokis, the Neshama. And he's going to now discuss different expressions of the Neshama. How does the Neshama look? What does it feel like to feel what the Neshama feels? Number one, Riyas Alakus B'Muchash. The Neshama has a clarity about the Eibush like as if it sees. It doesn't mean that it actually sees. It means Hashem is so real, it sees. In the Maimer of Atat Tetzava, the Rebbe says it's Madrega of Chaya. A Klorka Tadei V'Midat Alakus. Finished. Here, he's going to give a different thing. When you break yourself through the Timtum and the Meridus and the Atzvos, or the Atzvos and the Meridus, you gain clarity and you have Simcha. In Perek Lamed Beis, he's going to say, this is how you have real Ahavas Yisrael. And in Perek Lamed Gimel, he's going to say, this gives you real Amunah. So we're going to have 4 forms of the same thing. In Perek Chof Tes, he says, you have clarity like as if you see godliness. In Perek Lamed Aleph, you have the joy of Avodas Hashem, which comes after the depression. In Perek Lamed Beis, you have real Ahavas Yisrael, mamish kamoicha mamish. And in Perek Lamed Gimel, the infinite moon. So this is the way I structure the learning of these prak. Now let's continue. The Alter Rebbe is going to tell you this. Here was a guy who was in a state of timtum, who was broken. And he resolved his timtum by breaking himself, by fighting with himself and breaking himself until he resolved the timtum. You break the timtum, you have simcha. So the Alter Rebbe says, I want you to know, this is a never-ending battle. Because at every moment of the life of a neshama b'guf, he has a choice to be happy or sad. Because you still have a guf, you still have a nefesh bahamis, you still have all the obstacles of this world. On the other hand, you have a neshama. Your neshama is one with the Eibishter. And moreover, you could learn Torah and do mitzvahs. Each act of studying Torah, each act of performing the mitzvah is an event of redemption. So the Rebbe says, you give yourself musar, you beat yourself up, you get clarity, you get joy, and you go. What about the fact that you have a neshama in a guf? So you're going to have to pick. And the Rebbe says, pick simcha, don't pick atzvos. And that's what's going to follow. The remainder of this Perek is going to talk about the ongoing struggle. In other words, when you're in a state of timtum, you have no choice, you stop and you beat up on yourself. But when you're released from the timtum, and you have a clarity like Riyas Alakus B'Muchash, and you have a joy, a simcha, a joy of being a yid, you continue to go on the path, on the channel, on the track of joy, notwithstanding that at any moment you can say, but I'm still stuck in the guf and in nefesh habahamis and el mazeh. Says the Rebbe, and afterwards, Yava, you will come, the simcha amitis, the true joy. The hainu, true joy, was also mentioned in Tanya Perek Chavov. Shazeit Yoshev Alibi, a person has to tell himself and his heart. Lenachamei, to console himself, b'kiflayim, doubly. Achar advarim, bo'emes ha'elan iskarim lihil. After the words and the truths we discussed earlier in chapter 29, that a person is Ra, Rosh Meshukitz Mesuv, V'cholu Gechol Hashem Shekinu Leichachemenu Zechenu V'racha B'yemes Ad Mosai. And Leimel Alibi, he should tell himself the following. He should tell himself as follows: Emes who came believe Safik. It's taka true without any doubt. I'm very far from the Eibishter. Umeshukitz Umesua V'choli. I'm disgusting. I'm an abominable V'choli. But that's only me. Me, as I said in the beginning of Perek Chof Tes in Tanya, that the Beini is Nefesh HaBahamis. Who am I? Who are Guf, the body? Im Nefesh HaBachiyun, it's with the animal soul which is inside. On the other hand, yes, there is in me Chelik Havaya Mamish, a piece of the Eibishter. Yes, Nefila B'Kalcha B'Kalim, which exists even in the most light-hearted of Jews. Shehi nefesh alikis, which is the godly soul, which I possess. Im needs a telekus mamish, with the spark of godliness mamish. Hamelu bashba, which is invested in my body, to give it life. So I have a guf and nefesh abahamis which are depressing, but I have an neshama, and my neshama is godly. The only problem is, she b'chinas golus. My godly soul is trapped in the guf. What does golus mean? It exists inside of me, and it's not free to reveal itself. I've told you this 100 times. Golus means that you're there and not revealed, like Chas v'Shalom, a stroke victim, or Gilgulim, like it says in Chasidus. V'im ketzad al tereba Adar, I got a different priority. What's my priority? Kol ma shani b'tachas harichuk. The more I am far from Hashem, me'avai from the Rebishter, v'atiyo v'ashikuts, and the abomination and the disgust of the guf for the shabahamis nelam hazeh and this piece of cake. Says the Rebbe, nefesh alikith shabi, my godly soul begolus, godly yes, is in a bigger golus. V'arachmon is aleha gedei lemiyit, and the rachmon is nefesh alikith is even greater. I can feel bad for myself, or I can commit myself to fix it. And therefore, I will apply kol magamasi v'chefti, all my desire and all my want, not my desire. To remove my neshama, my godly soul, and to lift it above this exile. To bring it back to its father's house as it was in its youth. Prior to coming into this physical world and into my physical body. That before the person's neshama comes into this world, it was included in the light of Hashem. It's absolutely one with him. Says the guy, this yid, I want it to be this way now also. That it should be in a guf, gesund, like the Rebbe says in the Sichas of Adar and Beis. Neshama bria beguf bari. But at the same time, it should be klulu miyuchades be'yizbarach, included in one with the Eibishter himself. Kisha asim kol magamasi, by applying all of my desire, b'teiru mitzvahs, and teiru mitzvahs. That I'm going to do the following. Lahalbish bohen, to invest in Yiddishkeit. Kolasa b'chin a second out all 10 faculties of the neshama, including the 3 garments of machshava dibur u'maaseh. Ubefrat and especially b'mitzvahs tefillah, mitzvah of davening. Litzik al Hashem, to scream to the Eibishter. Betzarlo, in its narrowness, migalusa begufi ha-meshukatz, from its imprisonment in my body, which is disgusting. La'itzia, to remove it. Mimazgir, from its incarceration. Uladavka be'yizbarach, and to reattach it to the Eibishter. The Rebbe says, you are at a crossroads every second. The crossroads is you have an equal reason to be depressed and an equal reason to be joyous. The depression is the guf of nefesh b'hamas el mazeh. The joy is you have a neshama. Yeah, but my neshama is in the guf of mazeh. You're right. Redeem it. How? Here's how. The zuhi bechinas tshuva ma'asim tevim. This idea of tshuva ma'asim tevim, which means shehei ma'asim tevim sha'isah, when a yid does teiro mitzvahs, not to be makayim mitzvahs to get schar ne'elam haba, but it's ma'asim teiro mitzvah sha'isah kedei lahashiv, for the purposes of tshuva, to return chelek adishem, the peace of the Eibishter, lemekeda v'shasha the kolam, to the root and source of all the words, which is malchus of Atzilus. In other words, Alter Rebbe says like this: you have mitzvahs. Yeah, you do mitzvahs. You did your mitzvahs of the day, you're free, you're off the hook, do what you want. You have a quote, you have to learn Torah, you have to daven. Everything is limited. But there's a concept called Kol Yama B'Tshuva, doing tshuva every second. What's the pshat Kol Yama B'Tshuva? Where I'm doing tshuva ma'asim tevim, I'm doing Torah and mitzvahs. I'm not doing Torah and mitzvahs to pay bills. I'm not doing Torah and mitzvahs to meet my obligations. I'm doing Torah and mitzvahs because every time I'm doing an in of Yiddishkeit, I'm accentuating my neshama, I'm redeeming it, and I'm freeing it, and I'm connecting it to Atzmos. Like the Alter Rebbe said in Tanya Perek Dalet. When you do a mitzvah, neshama v'guf, your neshama is more connected to Hashem in this mitzvah than it was even in Gan Eden. Because over there is Giloyim and here's Etzem. But this is the crossroads that you have. First of all, you had a depression because of Timt. You broke out of it and you have Simcha. Keep the simcha going. You have reasons to be depressed. You have reasons to be besimcha. Focus on the simcha. How? Kol yama b'tshuva. Every second I'm learning Torah and doing mitzvahs as a means of returning my neshama to the Eibishter. But it's behelim. It's called golus. It's not able to reveal itself. And through Torah and mitzvahs, you're redeeming it from golus.
So right now, the person isn't going to feel that?
Afilu im tim tzalemi. He's not feeling it, but the neshama feels it. It could experience geula, etzem vesichnish, but geula. It could feel that it's able to be revealed. It's not trapped.
Simcha doesn't come automatically right after.
It comes automatically. But then goes on the perpetual struggle of sustaining that simcha. And the perpetual struggle of sustaining that simcha is the threshold, is the crossroads, is the precipice between Emek Reim and Emek Tachas. And this is constant.